Hey everyone, welcome back to Novoflix. Today we're diving into the romantic comedy, The Map That Leads to You, and breaking down that bittersweet ending that left so many of us with questions. If you haven't watched it yet, this is your spoiler warning. We're going deep into the plot, so maybe save this for after you've seen the movie. So let's talk about this Prime Video gem that really explores how life has this crazy way of completely flipping our carefully planned lives upside down. Our main character Heather is someone who has her whole life mapped out literally. She's on this grand European tour with her friends, and everything is meticulously planned. But then Jack shows up, this free-spirited adventurer who's about to turn her world completely around. The journey begins. The story kicks off right after Heather graduates from grad school. She's celebrating by taking this European vacation with her friends Connie and Amy. They're hitting all the amazing historical sites, experiencing the nightlife, living it up. Barcelona is their final stop, and Heather has this extremely detailed itinerary for everything. But here's where things get interesting. On the train to Barcelona, this guy Jack decides to make his bed in the luggage rack above the girls' seats instead of using the cramped train seats. Who does that, right? This quirky behavior catches Heather's attention, and they end up having this light-hearted connection. Even though they have to part ways at the Barcelona station the next morning, fate has other plans. Jack actually takes a gamble and shows up at a bar that Amy had mentioned. This eccentric wanderer just keeps charming Heather more and more. Meanwhile, Connie ends up spending the night with Jack's friend Reef, and Amy disappears to some random house party. Heather and Jack end up together for the night, and his adventurous spirit leads them to break into a tower tram where they accidentally fall asleep. The next morning brings even more chaos when they discover that Amy's mystery man Victor had apparently stolen all her stuff the night before. But here's the crazy part: their confrontation with him actually leads to success. Not only do they get Amy's belongings back, but they also find this huge stash of cash. The real adventure begins. This discovery kicks off a whole new adventure. We're talking convertible cars, boat journeys, island visits, the works. The girls start becoming more open to these unexpected experiences, and their whole outlook on the future begins to shift. By the final day of their planned trip, everyone's making different choices. Connie decides to include Reef in her wine-making plans. Amy chooses to go solo and make the Camino pilgrimage. And Heather? She decides to postpone going home to spend an extra week with Jack. Over the next few days, Heather and Jack travel to different locations following Jack's grandfather's journal. Their relationship gradually deepens, and they finally stop dancing around each other and give in to those romantic sparks we've all been waiting for. When reality hits, but of course, things get complicated as their connection deepens and Heather's inevitable return home gets closer. After a conflict that nearly breaks her heart, Jack eventually agrees to come with her to New York to keep their futures intertwined. Here's where it gets heartbreaking. On the day of the flight, Jack only sends her an apologetic text, leaving Heather devastated and alone at the airport. Talk about being ghosted, right? Fast forward several months, and Heather has settled into her new life in New York as a banker. She's trying her best to forget Jack as just a summer fling, but she can't help being drawn to the lessons their relationship taught her. The truth about Jack and what seemed like his predetermined fate finally comes to light at Connie and Reef's wedding. Jack's hidden truth. So let's talk about Jack's character. When we first meet him, he's this free-spirited guy who wants to experience life to the fullest. He carries this vintage journal that belonged to his grandfather Russell, who was a World War II veteran that traveled the world seeking its wonders. Jack is excited to explore those same places and enjoy his youth while he can. But here's what's really interesting: this whole backpacking across Europe and funding his travels with odd jobs is actually a fairly new development in his story. For most of his adult life, Jack actually pursued the conventional lifestyle, college degrees and a job at a banking firm, not unlike the one Heather is pursuing. But then he had a notable health scare that completely changed his entire worldview. Jack realized he had wasted most of his life away. So he devotes himself to chasing his heart's desires, uncovering his ever-present zest for life. But in the back of his mind, he remains worried about his health deteriorating again. That's why he prefers to live in the moment, vehemently against the idea of making any plans. When Heather enters his life, this starts to change. Despite their entirely different personalities, they find themselves gravitating toward each other's orbits with a sense of reckless abandon. But Heather can't always stick around in this European purgatory, where she's unable to set down any roots or commitments. On the flip side, Jack remains afraid of making any long-term plans for fear of life trampling over them as it once did. The devastating revelation. Things get much worse when a trip to the ER confirms Jack's worst nightmare, his previous health scare, the cancer, has returned. This news sends their relationship into a rapid downward spiral, sending them down separate paths for 8 whole months. On top of dealing with his health issues, Jack is also struggling with overwhelming guilt and shame about how things ended with Heather. So he writes her a letter revealing secrets he had kept hidden, hoping to bring some closure to their story. Does Jack die? Now, here's the big question everyone's asking: does Jack die? The movie actually leaves this intentionally ambiguous. Jack's illness is expected to hang over the couple like this threatening cloud, but their time together doesn't have to end just yet. The story ends on a cliffhanger, with Jack's death being implied but not definitively shown. This creates a bittersweet conclusion that really drives home the movie's main message to live in the present moment. How Heather finds Jack again. After being left at the airport, Heather is completely bewildered and lost. Jack had consistently avoided talking about their future together, which made their relationship feel uncertain. He would talk about real love and destiny, making their romance seem meaningful, but his refusal to plan a future together sent a completely different message. For 8 months, Heather lives with the assumption that she was simply ghosted at the end of what was really just a brief summer affair. But at Connie and Reef's wedding, she's confronted with a new reality. Jack doesn't show up to the wedding as expected, but he had sent a wedding gift to the couple along with a letter for Heather. Reef only gives her the letter after she asks about Jack, following his friend's instructions. This letter reveals the real reason why she was left stranded at the airport. While it doesn't say where Jack currently is, there's one particular passage that catches her attention. The phrase, "dancing in the face of death," refers to secret entries in Russell's journal about the Santa Pau community. Overwhelmed with hope, Heather books a flight to this Spanish village, where she eventually finds Jack again. Just like before, they're naturally drawn to each other. But this time, they choose to dive right into their romance, knowing full well that their future is uncertain. Why Jack left her at the airport. When Heather agrees to extend her stay and vacation with Jack, they embark on new adventures together. During one trip to Pamplona, Spain, they watch the running of the bulls. After a terrible encounter with the bulls, Jack impulsively decides to enter the ring and ends up dislocating his shoulder. His hospital stay gives him more than just a healed shoulder though. A few days later, he gets another call from the medical facility explaining a disturbing discovery: his cancer has returned, fulfilling one of his greatest fears. Even worse, this confirms all his reservations about committing to a future with Heather. He's reluctant to drop such devastating news on her, knowing it would completely upend her life. He's terrified that something completely beyond his control would destroy their beautiful relationship. For this reason, Jack makes sure Heather has only positive memories of her European vacation by treasuring every last moment of their time together. But ultimately, he feels he has to leave her so she can go back to living her life. Heather's transformation. At the beginning of the story, Heather is a total type of personality. It's no surprise that she has her entire life mapped out: college, wild European tour, then settling down in New York as a successful banker. Her encounter with Jack softens some of her rigid edges and makes her more open to the benefits of spontaneity. But she still sticks to her original plan. It's not until she actually starts working at her banking job in New York that she realizes this isn't what she really wants out of life. Being with Jack showed Heather that there could be a future where she pursues her dreams and ambitions without constantly worrying about having everything perfectly planned out. She realizes that her fear of disappointing her father has been the main reason she's controlled her future so tightly. But her father only wants what's best for his daughter. Once Heather realizes this, she makes the decision to abandon her rigid plans and pursue happiness in whatever form it takes. The real message. The map that leads to you ultimately delivers a powerful message about living in the present moment and being open to life's unexpected turns. Sometimes the most beautiful experiences come from the unplanned moments, and sometimes love means taking risks even when the future is uncertain. The ambiguous ending leaves us wondering about Jack's fate, but maybe that's the point. Life doesn't come with guarantees, and the movie suggests that the time we have together, however long or short, is what really matters. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown of The Map That Leads to You, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more movie endings explained. What did you think of the movie's bittersweet ending? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.